get started. Thank you. Yes, so just so that everyone knows, we are recording these workshops, and they will be available later on YouTube, and we'll send them around to everybody so that you can cook. You can watch them again and cook along if you wish at a later date. We've also sent the recipes for all of these three dishes to everybody, and we can send those around again as well. So you can have those. Hi, Mike. Great to see you. Welcome to everybody. So I'm just going to do a brief introduction and then we'll launch into the food. So I think I know most of you, or most of you know me, but regardless, my name is Simi Ram-Reimer. I am the Associate Director of the Interfaith Council of Metropolitan Washington, and it's wonderful to have you joining us for our December Lunchtime Live Holiday Edition. I want to just take a few minutes to share with you a little bit about the Interfaith Council, or IFC. Since 1978, IFC has been a pioneer in interfaith dialogue, creating spaces where understanding, respect, and collaboration can thrive. We are a regional-based organization made up of 11 historic faiths, including the Abrahamic and Dharmic traditions. Our mission is to create spaces, opportunities, and resources for interfaith engagement in order to advance interfaith cooperation so that religious pluralism will thrive. We do this through a variety of public programs, such as group discussions and unity walks, through interfaith partnerships with congregations, organizations, and local governments, and through local and regional initiatives, such as our religious and cultural literacy workshops. Today's program will feature 4 wonderful cooks from 3 different faith traditions: Catholic, Jewish, and Zoroastrian. Each host will spend about 25 minutes walking us through how to make their dish. They will share a little bit about their faith traditions and answer your questions. You are welcome to cook along with each of the hosts if you would like, or just watch and observe. And please feel free to put any questions you may have about the food, about any cooking techniques you're observing, about anything having to do with why this food is eaten at this time, or anything else that comes to mind. You can put it in the chat or raise your hand, and we'll get to you as soon as we are able to. And with that, I would like to turn to our first host, who is actually joining us all the way from Sweden, from Stockholm. Her name is Mina Szpiro. She is a food columnist for the Swedish Chronicle. I hope I got that somewhat right, Mina. The Swedish National Jewish Chronicle. She teaches Jewish cooking classes and gives lectures on Jewish food culture. And today, Mina will share her recipe for potato latkes with a Swedish twist that are often eaten for the Jewish holiday of Hanukkah. And with that, I turn it over to Mina.
Thank you. So yes, hi everyone. My name is Mina, or to be extra Swedish, my name is Wilhelmina, actually. So that's the Jewish short name Mina, and they wanted to Swedify it a little bit. So there's a city called Wilhelmina in the northern part of this country, and that's my name. Very Swedish. Everyone expects me to be 85 years old because it's not a hip and young name, but I like it. So yes, I'm a food columnist. I teach Jewish cooking classes, and I work at the Jewish Institute for European Jewish Studies in Stockholm, in Sweden. I'm the administrator there, and I love cooking. I have a large a collection of Jewish cookbooks, and I have relatives in Canada and the US and Israel, and that's why I speak this American English, because of watching too much television and being in touch with my relatives over there. So I spent some time in the US, but I'm born and raised here in Sweden. And I'm what is known as an Ashkenazi Jew. That means I have Eastern European, Central and Eastern European heritage. And potato latkes is a very classic Ashkenazi dish for Hanukkah. And I've taught this dish before in classes, never in English. I'm used to doing this in Swedish, but I'm sure it will be fine. And I'm happy to answer questions along the way. And what I've done, I've already prepared a little bit. So I've grated, in my recipe, I said 2 large potatoes. It doesn't need to be like these super big baked potatoes, but just an average starchy potato. And I've grated those potatoes and put them in a colander so that all the liquids could run out into the bowl. And now it's sat for a little while, and I'm gonna use this natural potato starch from the liquid in my latkes. Some recipes for latkes has added flour. It could be matzo meal flour, like when you make matzo ball soup. It can be rice flour, almond flour. I don't add any flour unless I make vegan latkes. And I skip the egg and I use a little bit of chickpea flour. But in this case, I will use 1 egg and no flour. So it's just potatoes, grated onions, eggs, and a little bit of seasoning. And that's it. So I'm going to show you how to make them. But first, I've already drained these potatoes. I'm going to show this a little bit of a liquid in my bowl. If you can see, yeah, you can see the musky liquid in the bowl. And I'm going to pour out the liquid, but in the bottom of the bowl, there'll be a little bit of starchy goop. You can't see it, but there's like 1 spoon of starchy goop in the bottom. And I want that. That makes the latkes crispy. So while I mix my potatoes with my onion, I'm going to turn on my frying pan. You can make these in the oven. You can make them in an air fryer. You can make them in a frying pan like I do. The most important thing is that you use a little bit of oil, because Hanukkah is about the miracle of the oil. Some people use canola oil, vegetable oil, peanut oil, olive oil. I don't really mind whichever you choose to do, or whatever you have at home. I've been a little bit lazy. Instead of grating my onions, I used one of those little thingy-majiggies, where you go, and it cuts the onions for you, because I always cry when I grate onions. Here we go. So I'm going to start by mixing these, and I'll add a little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper, and for me, I want my latkes to be I want them to be crispy and potatoey, a little bit, I don't know, neutral, and then I want fun and innovative toppings. I'm all about toppings. So you could, of course, spice these latkes a little bit more. You can put in whatever you want in here, but I just do salt and pepper, like my Polish mother taught me how to. Let's crack that egg. So this is also known as a potato pancake. It won't look like a pancake. It will just look like a sticky, let's see if the lighting is all bad over here. Maybe I do this. Hang on, no, that's worse. Please, it will be like a sticky, not gooey, not runny, but a sticky mess. And I have a couple of pointers to show you to make this process much easier. So first, I use a cookie cutter. Like one of these classic cookie cutters. This is the size of the cookie cutter. And I will place the cookie cutter into the pan. I'll place 2 tablespoons of the mixture, just so it gets a little bit of shape. And then I remove the cookie cutter, and then I repeat it with the next one. This way, all of our latkes are uniform in size. They still get the ragged edges, but they don't run out. They don't expand too much. So that's what I'm looking for. I'm going to show you. And I'm looking forward to showing you the finished results as well. So 2 tablespoons that I just flatten out into the cookie cutter. Then I lift it up. And I repeat. So I already heated my oil, so it's sizzling over here. I don't want the oil to be too hot, so I have a medium-high heat. I'm going to keep track of the heats. And I don't want to crowd my pan, because if I crowd my pan, the oil gets too cold. So I'm doing 3 or 4 at a time, even though I have more room. And I'll show you later with this cookie cutter, they will all look the same. It'll be so good. And I'm just going to fry them for about 3 minutes per side. I'm going to flip them, gently just push them down with my spatula, and fry them on the other side. And my other pointer is that you use an oven rack. So I place an oven rack on top of an oven tray with some parchment paper in between. And when they're done, I'm going to place them on the oven rack, because that way we'll get rid of some of the humidity. Because if you just place them directly on a plate, they're still very humid and they won't be as crispy. But this way, there's air coming through from the top and from the bottom, because they're on a rack, and they will remain crispier for a long time. So this way you can prepare them in advance, and we can eat them in half an hour or in an hour, or you can keep them warm in the oven. Or what I like to do is that I prepare them in advance, and then I freeze them in single layers in the freezer, and then I just pop them in the oven frozen for 10 minutes on 400 degrees, and they're like freshly made. So I had a big latke party. Me and my husband had a big latke party 2 weeks ago with our friends, and I prepared 120 something latkes. So I cooked them over the week, a couple of latkes here and there, prepared all week, and I didn't want to be in the kitchen while all the guests were here. We usually invite like 40, 45 people. And so I just prepared them, and then when they were here, I just popped them in the oven. So 10 minutes at a time, another batch, another batch, another batch. So that's my recommendation to you. And my oven is a little bit wonky, so I just keep flipping my pan around, because the heat is unevenly distributed. That's why. But I'll show you soon what they look like.
So Mina, I have a question for you.
Yes.
And that is, do you know, have latkes always been kind of associated with Hanukkah? Is that, I mean, yeah, can you, and especially in Sweden, in that part of the world, is latkes kind of the go-to food for Jews,
Yes.
or others will
Yeah.
celebrate
So,
Hanukkah?
for Hanukkah, of course, we eat things that are made with oil. And a lot of people associate that with being fried in oil. It doesn't necessarily have to be fried in oil. I just want to say, like a Greek salad with a little bit of olive oil, that's also made with oil, and that's fine in my book. That could be a Hanukkah food as well, even though it's officially not. So we fry donuts, sufganiyot, some people fry falafel. We do these fritters. As we could call them potato fritters, these latkes, because the original fritters used for Hanukkah was not made with potatoes. It was like a cheesy ricotta fritter. Like in times of the temple in Jerusalem, we didn't have potatoes, but we had cheese. So there would be a cheese fritter. And then eventually, especially with us Europeans, the potato came and helped. We didn't have a lot of crops. It was cold. It was hard to keep things over the cold winter. So potatoes were a lifesaver. Potatoes and onions. I say Poland was built on potatoes and onions. So we've been doing potato latkes for maybe, what is it now? Is it 300 years, I believe? So it's really associated with Ashkenazi Hanukkah traditions, for sure. And in Sweden, we also have another dish called rårake. I don't have an explanation for what this means, because I think it's an old-timey word that I don't understand what it is, that we don't use anymore. But rå means raw. So you grate raw potatoes that you mix with onions and you fry in a pan. But you use a smaller pan, and you do one large that fills up the entire pan. And then you flip it, and it's sort of soft, not as crunchy. It's crunchy on the outside and soft in the middle. And then it's served with in Sweden. It's served with pork and sometimes lingonberry jam because we have a lot of lingonberries. That's a very classic Swedish dish, and I think it has inspired Swedish Jews also, that we don't feel as weird or exotic because there's the Swedish råraka and we have like the Jewish råraka, and we just change the toppings around a little bit. But in Sweden, we don't do the Americanized applesauce toppings. I've only heard Americans say that they have applesauce on their latkes. And us Polish Jews sometimes have sugar on top of ours. I do like the combination of sweet and savory. Like it has onions in it, and then you have sugar on top. And as a kid, I liked it with jam. Nowadays, I treat my friends' kids to latkes with Nutella instead, or like a chocolate spread. You have the sweet and savory, sort of like dipping a French fry in ice cream if you've ever done that at McDonald's. But I'm going to show you like the traditional Swedish version is, I wouldn't even call it sour cream because it's not a sour cream, but that's the closest we will get. It actually has a French name. We use something called crème fraîche, so fresh cream, and it's kind of thick. So we use this fresh cream that is not sweet, and we do the chives. I have some Swedish chives over here, and we do dill, and just like a midsummer, like a Swedish midsummer feasts, we do potatoes, we do dill, we do fish roe. So that's the Swedish latke. It's like a merge of Swedish holiday traditions, some of them pagan traditions, some of them Christian traditions, and then we merge into our Swedish latkes. And most Swedish Jews that I know are used to having this red onion, dill, and fish roe, black fish roe or orange fish roe. I don't know if you call it red fish roe or black. We call it red fish roe and black fish roe. I'm just going to keep track of my latkes over here.
So Mina, we also have another question about the size of the Jewish community in Sweden. And also if you could talk a little bit about the makeup of it. You said you yourself are Ashkenazi. Is that the majority of Jews who live in Sweden?
Yeah, so Sweden, the total Swedish population is about 10 million people. And out of those, it's not legal to ask people which religion they identify with. So there is no sort of way to keep statistics, but we do know how many are affiliated with the synagogue. And we know that, if 4,000 people in Stockholm say they're affiliated with the synagogue, that means that probably, 4 or 5 times as many have a Jewish connection, but they're not religiously inclined. So we do have some numbers. So out of those 10 millions total in the country, we say we're approximately 20,000 Jews. So what is that? 0.2% of the population. And I live in Stockholm, the capital city. We have almost 2 million inhabitants here and 4,000 something members of the local Jewish community. But we probably have 12,000 out of the total 20,000 here in the capital. So I grew up, we have 3 synagogues in Stockholm. We have 1 conservative, and we have 2 Orthodox. Nowadays, we also have a progressive group, a reform group, a liberal group. We call it, they're all the same here. That's the same thing. And that's a new group that doesn't have their own synagogue, but they have a meeting spot. So I grew up, when we went to synagogue, we went to the conservative synagogue, but we were quite secular in my household. So we kept kosher, meaning that we did not have cheeseburgers and we did not do like garlic butter on our steaks. But every year for the annual barbecue in our neighborhood, we would have lamb and tzatziki. So that's meats with dairy anyway, but we did not have cheeseburgers. And when me and my dad would go like to the amusement park, we would have hot dogs from the hot dog stand, and Swedish hot dogs definitely contain pork. So I always thought that I have never tried pork whatsoever, but I remember eating hot dogs. So my family a little bit weird. But we're very classic Swedish, like we're in-betweeners. We're not very religious and we're not completely secular. But we are Ashkenazi, and my parents both have Polish heritage. And I would say 85% of Swedish Jewry is Ashkenazi. So we have a lot of Poles. We have a lot of Poles that left Poland in 1968, 1969, when they were allowed to leave, and with the student uprising and everything. So my mom came when she was a teenager because suddenly they were allowed to get passports in Poland, and they had just a couple of months to get everything together, get passports, and save enough money to travel out of Poland with all the anti-Semitism in Poland. So my mom came in the 60s, as did many Jews here in Stockholm. And we have some Israelis here also. We have very few, very few, like Ethiopian Jews or South American Jews. It's not a big Ladino-speaking South American Jewish community at all. We have many more that speak Yiddish or Hebrew. Hang on.
Oh, Mike has a question. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, so thanks a lot. The cookie cutter is a great idea because when I've tried to make latkes, I try to form them into a shape in my hand and they just fall apart. So the question I have is if they're too runny, what do you use to kind of thicken it up? Do you use more starch or
I mean, if they're too runny, I would add either like potato starch or cornstarch. You can, of course, use flour if you want to, but I don't want too much of that flour taste. If you have some old like matzo meal, maybe from Passover, you can use a little bit. But I say like always start with 1 spoon because you might overdo it quite quickly. But a starch is a very good starch. Just like a tablespoon of a cornstarch or potato starch. And also, as many recipes in my book use too many eggs. So like always start with 1 egg and see how it goes. You can always add more eggs, but you can't remove them, of course. And they're not as runny if you do my trick with the colander first, because they release a lot of liquid. But when I started making latkes, my mom never drained them. So there would be a lot of liquid in the bowl, and you would have to like scoop it out, continuously scoop it out. So I get you. But if you do the colander, start with just 1 egg, and then if you need it, add a little bit of starch. I think it'll be golden.
thanks?
But yeah, so Swedish Jews, I mean, that you're speaking to a Swedish Jew at the moment, I'm like a unicorn. It's very unusual and it's very exotic. And my husband, he's a Christian atheist with a Swedish father and a Finnish mother. And he always likes to sunbathe in the glistle of my exoticness. So he likes telling people that he's married to a Jew because he gets extra credit for it. So he's always happy to mention that I'm Jewish, which I think is very sweet. And we've been together since we were teenagers, so he's very active in my Jewish traditions, and he's been a part of my Jewish journey. Like I said, we were more secular when I grew up, and it was more in my 20s that I started thinking that maybe I'm missing out and I want to learn more about my Jewish heritage and what it means to be a Jew. And for me, it was either being totally secular or being ultra-Orthodox, like my relatives in Israel, who are super Orthodox. And I didn't feel like I fit in either of those. So I started experimenting in my 20s. And my husband has been very good at both encouraging me and keeping me grounded, so I don't get too swept away. So that's nice. So I call him an honorary Jew because he's part of all the traditions. He finds these things important. Just the other day, he was doing like a little mini photo shoots when we were lighting the first candles for Hanukkah, and we bought some sufganiyot, the fried donuts. And he set everything up on the table and started taking pictures just by himself because he wanted to do a little nice photo shoots. And that's important for him as well. So that warms my heart very much. And even my sister is married to someone who's not Jewish. She's just to make everything extra Nordic. She's married to a man from Denmark. So she has little red-headed children, and they also celebrate Danish Christmas traditions as well as Jewish traditions. So we're a very blended family, which I appreciate. And we borrow things from each other. And my mom has happily adapted to making the Christmas goose or the Christmas duck that they do in Denmark. It's a delicious Christmas duck with like caramelized onions and brown potatoes, and that works for Hanukkah as well. So why not? Why not?
So Mina, just as we're wrapping up here, just to kind of looking at the time,
Yeah.
and I see that you do have some delicious, really delicious looking latkes behind you. Would it be possible, yeah, for you to show us? And then any other final, tips or anything else you want to share with us?
Do I have 1 minute to
Yes,
put
go
the
for it.
toppings on?
Yes.
Good. Great. So my husband made a little like sour cream and caper mixture that he put in the fridge. So I'm just going to put that on. I'll show you because these will be yummy. And just a little bit of fish roe. So I don't know if this is the English word for it, but here we call this rainbow salmon. I don't know if that's a fish that you know what it is, but oh well. So my advice is experiment with the toppings. I really like the combination of sweet and savory, but when it comes to latkes, I'm more traditional, so I like the savory ones. Mine are very uniform and quite round. I don't know if you can see that, but they're quite round, not too many like raggedy edges, and they're so crispy that you can lift them up. So I don't want them like a pancake. I want them more like a hash brown, a crispy hash brown. So this is Swedish latke. So it has sour cream, red onions in the little sour cream mixture. This one also had capers. That's not mandatory. Nothing is mandatory. A little bit of dill and some fish roe. And I'm happy to represent some Swedish Jewish traditions and being the Jew in this context whatsoever, and very happy to be invited here to begin with. I love talking about food, and I love that you were here. And like I said, you can make these in advance. You can make plenty of them, freeze them in a single layer, either in Ziplocs or in Tupperware. And then when it's time, just heat up your oven to 400 degrees Fahrenheit, 200 Celsius, and put them in for 10 minutes. It's nice if you flip them halfway. Just put them on some parchment paper, 5 minutes, flip them 5 minutes more, and they'll be good as new. Like you just made them, but you don't, like the whole kitchen doesn't smell like latkes and your hair doesn't smell like latkes. And with that, I say happy 5th night of Hanukkah, the festival of lights. And with everything going on in the world, we need more lights and more tasty things and nice memories together. So thanks for being here.
Thank you so much. How do you say happy Hanukkah in Swedish?
Glad Hanukkah.
Wonderful. Well, thank you again so much for showing us these delicious latkes and also all of your tricks and tips. I know I will definitely be using some of those when I make latkes in the next few days. And thank you so much for sharing a little bit of your life and traditions with us.
Happy to. And I'll stick around and listen to the other ones as well. So I'll mute myself.
Wonderful.
But thank you, everyone.